Welcome to the Building Web3 podcast. We have my good friend Brian. He is the CEO of Chorus One. Brian, before we get too deep into Chorus One and what you all have going on over there, let's talk a little bit about your background. What were you doing before you got to this world of Web3? What was your come to crypto moment?
I was interested in startups at the time and tech kind of this was in like 2013, and I was finishing a master's thesis at the time, and that's when I discovered Bitcoin. And yeah, it was for me pretty much immediately felt kind of like a revelation. I felt this is super cool, super interesting, great opportunity, exciting to work on. So I basically been working full time in crypto since then.
We love it. Now, tell us a little bit about what Chorus One is.
Yeah, so I mean, even when I got into crypto back in 2013, right, the idea of proof of stake was already there, right? There was already the concept there that like, hey, you could use tokens as economic security to basically secure decentralized networks, and that would be a lot more scalable, cost efficient, and have other benefits, more performant than proof of work. And I was working in basically 2015, 16 for the startup that was building on top of Tendermint, which is kind of like one of the first proof of stake implementations. And then in 2017, I was COO of the company All in Bit, so Tendermint, which is the company that launched the Cosmos ecosystem. So I was working then sort of at Cosmos when it started, and at the same time you had a whole bunch of Ethereum was working on switching proof of stake. You had other proof of stake networks like Polkadot, Tezos, Avalanche. They were all kind of working on launching, and so that's when we kind of felt that there was just a big need and a big opportunity to launch to operate staking infrastructure, and that's when we decided to start working on Chorus One. So it's actually almost 7 years ago now.
Yeah, and so let's walk through what are some of the key functionalities and features of Chorus One, in case people are unfamiliar.
Yeah. So basically, we help people or organizations stake their crypto assets. So we support around 65 different protocols networks at the moment. And then, we run nodes that anyone in the world can stake with. So, you can just sort of go in your wallet, like you stake the tokens, you look for validators, you can see Chorus One, you can stake with us. So that's like one thing. But we also work a lot with institutions. So we have many VC funds who are customers. We work a lot with custodians. So, places like BitGo, Anchorage, etc., where people custody their tokens. So then, like we partner with those kind of organizations to stake with us. We work with wallets. We work with ledgers, for example, partner with us. So like just a lot of different places wherever people hold their tokens. We kind of enable staking through operating our staking infrastructure.
Absolutely. So let's walk through some of these examples and how a user would come in. So let's say we're working with a VC client, and we don't have to name anyone here, but you're working with a VC, and then how does it work that they have some kind of multi-sig wallet and they're like, hey, we'd love to stake with Chorus One? How's it all work?
Yeah, I mean VCs. So yeah, we work with a lot of VCs. I mean, one of our great strengths of Chorus One is that we have a big research team too. So we're very like crypto native. We're really at the cutting edge there, which I think VCs appreciate a lot. Now, generally with VCs, they've invested in protocols while they were still in development, and now they're holding, a whole bunch of tokens, and then the protocol launches. So we often, start supporting protocols even before they're live, on test nets and kind of giving feedback. But then, the protocol actually launches, and then, we start operating the staking infrastructure. VCs generally do not hold the tokens themselves, right? I mean, some of them will hold it in, like ledgers and stuff, but many of them will use an external custodian. And then, basically, we will talk with the VCs and they say, hey, we want to stake with you guys. And then we'll often be like, oh, so who do you guys custody with? Then we like often we have existing partnerships with the custodians, so we have to like figure out somehow if like how do we work with the custodians, because in the end that's where the transaction gets executed, and so like that kind of integration is often necessary. And yeah, afterwards they're kind of staking. And I think the nice thing about staking, of course, it's you stake, you can kind of stake it and forget it, right? In many cases, right? And that like it's just sort of very little maintenance, and you're just able to earn additional tokens on your investment or on your
And
tokens.
does that differ significantly from your interactions with, you mentioned custodians and also wallets?
It does, yeah, it does. I mean, the custodians are not really, they don't hold their own assets, right? So for the custodians, we enable staking for their customers. So, one thing that means just economically, we'll generally have some kind of revenue share agreement, with the custodians, and then, their customers stake with us, and then so we share kind of revenues there. It's a bit more technical sometimes with because sometimes there can be some kind of integration work on their end where they're like add us as a staking provider in some way on their back end, and then that can differ between the different backends. And I think for wallets is also again kind of different, because wallets will have lots of customers on their end that want to stake. So first of all, you have to find a solution that allows you to stake like small amounts. So, let's say to give the example on Ethereum, we have a kind of a pooling solution so that, anyone can send any amount of ETH to this pool that we operate. And then, they can earn ETH on top of that. Um, we have different offerings there too. For example, we have a public pool they can use, but we can also spin up private pools. So a wallet might say, hey, we want to have our own pool just for our customers. So it depends a little bit on the requirements. But generally, like if you like VCs tend to be, there's no integration effort in general with a VC. With a wallet, it can easily be 6 months and working together and, calls with developers, figuring out their backend, their needs. So it's a very different type of partnership.
Absolutely. And how do you guys decide which, which protocols to stake on?
Yeah, so I mean, we have a research team, a research and networks onboarding team. So we look at a lot of different protocols. Like a lot of them come to us, or sometimes investors are like, hey, I have this, or we learn about protocols. So we will look at a lot of different protocols, and then we look at a whole bunch of different criteria. We look at how hard is it for us to support it technically. Maybe it's using an existing framework like Cosmos SDK, or maybe it's in some other way that we can support, or maybe it's harder. So we look at the technical side, we look at the economics of the protocol. We see if there are customers we have that will stake with us. So the customer demand matters. Of course, we look at things like the market cap and like the expected rewards. We'll also look at like, hey, does it seem like a solid project that has a future, or something that's just kind of scammy and going to disappear? So, there's a lot of different criteria that we look at, and then, we kind of go through that evaluation process, generally with calls with the team. And and then if you decide to go ahead, then it goes to, one of our engineering teams. Our engineering team is also kind of broken down with like different teams that are focused on different, kind of types of blockchains, so types of protocols and ecosystems. And, then they will start supporting that network.
Absolutely. And you talked about having a research team. So tell us a little bit about like what kind of research you guys are producing. Is this external research, or is this purely internal on looking at the different protocols?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is external research. I mean, we publish a lot. So yeah, if you go to course.one, you can check our blog. There's a lot of our research is published there. So in terms of what we do research on, it kind of breaks down into a few different things. I mean, one is definitely looking at new protocols and which protocols we should support. We have a very deep expertise in the field of MEV. So we do a lot of research on that. We run, for example, a modified Ethereum client called Adagio that sort of optimizes how we engage with the Ethereum network to increase the MEV rewards. So we generate something like maybe like 8% additional MEV rewards over, like our competitors. So MEV is a big focus where we go like really deep. We've published a bunch of papers on that. And then, there will be like other areas where we sometimes do like deep dive. So we will do like articles about particular ecosystems. And then you should also say, so we have been doing investments as well. So we have like Chorus One Ventures. It's kind of like our, ventures arm. And I think we've done the first investment was like around 4 years ago, which was actually also turned out to be a great investment. It was in Lido, the seed round. So we were kind of like there at the start. But that was the first one. But we have since done around 80 different investments. So that's also part of our kind of integrated with our research team. So we look at a lot of new projects, trying to understand potential, and then we make investments in some of those as well.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the venture arm. Obviously, hitting big on Lido right out of the gate is incredible. So, for people that don't know what Lido is, give them a quick explanation, and then maybe we can talk about liquid staking after that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, Lido is the leading liquid staking protocol in crypto, and it's there's around 30% of the ETH that's being staked is being staked through Lido. So the way this works is that, if you want to stake ETH, you could send your ETH to a smart contract, and then you get another token back that's staked ETH, and then you sort of accrue the staking rewards on that staked ETH token, which basically means that the balance in your wallet is going to go up as the pool accrues additional ETH rewards. So this has a bunch of benefits, like one of the benefits is you can stake any amount. If you want to use your stake asset as a collateral for something else, you can do that through Lido because you get the staked ETH token. Initially, there were some other reasons. It's also a very easy user experience, a bunch of different advantages, especially when Ethereum launched. The user experience of staking on Ethereum was really bad. And so Lido got a ton of market share. Initially there was 5 validators that launched Lido. So we were one of those validators. So we were like an operator from the beginning, and we were also an investor in it, very involved in the Lido DAO. Since then it's the validator set has increased a lot. So I think there's around 30 different companies that are operating infrastructure for Lido. But yeah, it's Lido is basically the most successful DeFi protocol, or the protocol in crypto that has the most assets in it. I think it's around $30 billion or something like that.
Which is incredible to think about. So, talk to us a little bit about the venture arm and what kind of verticals you guys tend to focus on, or is it kind of all across the board?
Yeah, I mean, we tend to focus a lot on things where there's some kind of synergy or strategic angle with our business. So that means we invest a lot in protocols that we're then also going to run infrastructure for. So we've invested in many different proof of stake protocols. We've made, aside from Lido, we've made a whole bunch of different investments around liquid staking, around restaking. We've invested in interoperability protocols. So we're definitely pretty infrastructure focused. So basically crypto infrastructure, crypto protocols, and then it tends to be things where there's like, some degree of partnership strategic angle where, basically going to operate infrastructure for it.
Absolutely. And you mentioned MEV as being one of your guys's areas where you went very deep on. Talk to us a little bit, one, on what is MEV in case people are unfamiliar, and then talk to us about like how you're able to get, I think you said like 8% or additional rewards.
Yeah. So basically MEV, so if we zoom out a little bit, what a validator does is that, let's say we are up as the validator to create a block, which is determined by the network. We'll have some order and now, Chorus One is now producing the next block. We can then basically go to the mempool. The mempool is basically like this big pool where everyone sends a transaction in. You say like, hey, I want to put a transaction in. So it goes to this big pool. And then the validator comes up, and the validator can take out transactions from that pool and say, this is the next block. So what this project called Flashbots realized at some point is there's a lot of value in the ability to choose which transactions to put in. For example, let's say there is some like Uniswap, right? Is trading some token, and now someone made a big order in Uniswap, and now the price on Uniswap of ETH, for example, versus like let's just say Lido is might be different from the price on a different decentralized exchange on Ethereum. So someone can basically do an arbitrage transaction and capture that money, and that might be very profitable and zero risk, right? So you can have those kind of situations. So if you're the validator, then what you could do is you could say, hey, there is a really valuable transaction that could be put in here. So I have the authority to decide what transactions go in. So I can, for example, I could put my own transaction in instead of somebody else's. And then Flashbots basically, they said, we don't want validators to do this, but we want to sort of democratize this. We want that anybody can participate in this process and basically auction off the right to put particular transactions in. So they created this auction system where some party can go and they can basically say, hey, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna pay you X to basically put all of these transactions in this order in this block. And that basically resulted in, this is now part of the Ethereum protocol. It's called proposer builder separation. So what it means is the proposer is the validator, that's us. That's basically going to put the final block in the chain. The builder is the one who creates the block. And the builders are mainly, it's a bunch of like trading companies. And, actually we also invested in one of the builders called Titan. But so they are the ones who basically get all the transactions. They decide, okay, this is how we put them together. And then they say, I'm willing to pay this much for my block to be included. And then we as the validator, we look at the different builders, what they are offering, and we take the most profitable one. Now, latency is important in this thing. So the more time passes, generally blocks become more valuable. And the reason for that is that there's more transactions available. So that increases the value of the block, and also that the difference between the state of the blockchain and centralized exchanges will diverge more with time. Because let's say Ethereum only updates every 12 seconds. So if now there's like some price of ETH on Ethereum, and on Binance it keeps changing, and now this discrepancy grows with time. So that means now if you can do the arbitrage, it becomes more valuable with time. So basically, if you wait longer, it becomes more valuable. So we have, created a client that's, really optimizes this and is able to get sort of the most profitable block by, adjusting parameters, understanding the network better. So that's that's the core thing of what we're doing there.
Absolutely. And let's talk a little bit about some of the challenges you guys have faced and worked to overcome. For you guys have been in the industry quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's various different challenges. Certainly, one of the challenges of, running a staking business, but I think that's true for many crypto businesses, is just the volatility of the market, right? Because all our revenues are in different crypto assets. So it means, if the market goes down 50%, generally our revenues go down that much. If it goes up, the revenues go up that much. So I think handling that kind of, volatility of the crypto market is one of the challenges. Just being able to support a lot of different protocols at the same time is also a challenge. And then I feel like on some level, the most important challenge is, stay ahead of the game, like understand where things are going and, do things that, provide more value to your customers and, do better than the competition.
Absolutely. And do you have any advice for people trying to handle this market volatility? Do you guys buy like derivatives on your income so that you can at least get like a stable rate in case there's a 50% jump or a 50% decline? Or how do you guys kind of handle that?
Yeah, I mean, we have definitely explored that kind of thing. We have not done that so far. I think what we would do is we have our balance sheet, and we were just sort of also lucky because we were being involved so early, and we had a bunch of tokens that went up a lot. So our challenge then is to say, hey, when the market is good, when things are great, we sell tokens for fiat and stable coins, and to have like reserves to be able to deal with this volatility. I think that's like our situation. So it's kind of fortunate in that way. I think other companies, I guess it is definitely a challenge, right? Like I guess ideally, often you'd have to raise venture capital, and then you try to raise enough, and then try to be conservative in how much you spend. But of course, you have to move fast too. So I'm for sure, like many projects, right? They kind of get wiped out because they just don't manage these risks right, or they get unlucky.
Yeah, I remember talking with the team at Pendle, and they were talking about how they survived the crypto winter and how it was really difficult, and they had to keep like just the team alive. But it's always
Yeah.
interesting. So, what kind of advice do you have for, because you guys run the venture studio? Like, what kind of advice do you have for aspiring founders that are looking to get into the Web3 space based off your own journey?
Yeah, I mean, I would say one of my main piece of advice for someone who wants to be an entrepreneur, I would say, is to go somewhere, right, where there's not so much attention, where it's like you have to have some insight, I think, about where things are going that is not obvious and that is not everyone else has as well. And be somewhere early and work on that. And then if you're right and things turn your way, like you're in a great position. So I feel like, at least personally, if I were to start a company, I think I would always want this to be the case. If you enter an industry that's like really crowded, and we see that a lot. Like at the we look at a lot of venture deals, and for example, you wouldn't believe like how many like Bitcoin L2s, Bitcoin roll up DeFi things they're coming. It's just endless, right? So everyone's doing the same thing. Like that, that's not an industry I would want to be in, right? Because then it gets just super hard, all about execution. And, I don't think you're going to build like a great business like that. So I feel like, find something that you're really passionate about, that you find really fascinating and interesting, and that others don't really have on their radar. And it's like don't just follow the popular hype thing. And, then hopefully you're right. And then you just gotta, I feel like my other probably big piece of advice then would be to focus, right? Because I think trying to do too many things is also very dangerous, and it can really slow you down a lot. We've definitely made that mistake at times in the past. So I feel you want to be very focused and just execute, and then I think maybe you get lucky and you're going to build something great.
Hopefully. Now, Ryan,
Mhm.
this leads to another question. If, let's say, you could no longer work on course one, what area of the Web3 ecosystem do you feel like is underdeveloped? We talked about like, Bitcoin layer twos. You might think that is overhyped or overinvested. Talk to us about where you think is underinvested, where you would start a company if you had to start another.
Yeah, I would say there's two areas in crypto that I find like, really cool and fascinating. And actually both of these areas I would say are areas that are not really, people are not paying a lot of attention to. One is the area of Urbit, and actually we are working on that. So we have a team at Course One that is building Urbit infrastructure. Urbit, so that's Urbit, is an operating system and a peer-to-peer network. So it's centered around the idea that you want to have like your own personal server where all of your data would live and all the applications would be there, and this whole network with other servers. So Urbit is like one of the most ambitious and crazy projects in crypto. And I've been involved for quite a few years. I'm on the board of the foundation. I think it's really super fascinating ecosystem, and there's a lot of really brilliant, passionate people working on it, but there's not a lot of money in it at this point. So I think from that perspective, it would be a very risky thing to say, hey, I'm going to work on this. But of course, if it works out, the payoff I think could be absolutely enormous because there's not another project that's as ambitious. And I would say a second area I find pretty cool and fascinating is like DeSci. So basically like decentralized science. Um, there's I think a project called Bio Protocol that you could check out. It's like bio.xyz. But it's basically these DAOs that work with scientists to invest in like early stage research, own this research like on chain via NFTs, kind of develop and market this research. So it's kind of this merging of like biotech and DAOs and on chain DeFi. And so I think this is really cool. And it's an area that I'm pretty excited about as well.
Now, is Urbit the company that was founded by Yarvin?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I never met him, but I've heard he's an absolute genius in many
He,
respects.
He is, so Curtis Yarvin started that project. He worked for it for like 10 years by himself. Then he raised money from like Peter Thiel and some others in 2013. He was working on it until 2019. Then he kind of left. I kind of got involved, a little bit 2018, but I've been on the board of the foundation for a while. But actually, like literally the last 2 weeks, Curtis has basically like come back to the project. So I've been working quite a lot with Curtis, and yeah, he is a brilliant guy for sure. And it's pretty
Yeah.
it's very exciting actually to have him like back and full time on Urbit.
Yeah. Does he bring like a lot of star power for people that are unfamiliar with Curtis Yarvin? He is like a famous philosopher and, I would say like technical polymath.
Yeah, he does. He literally just came back, right? So we've just been like sharing this news. It's definitely caused a lot of like excitement and just activity in the ecosystem. Some people are unhappy that he's coming back. Some people are super happy that he's coming back. But I do feel like it's increasing quite a bit, the level of engagement and interest in the project.
Does it have any association to Web3, or it's just this like privatized, you own all your data?
Yeah, it does. So first of all, in Urbit, every person has this like personal server, and that personal server has an identity, and that identity, so that those identities are NFTs, and they're managed on Ethereum and the sort of Ethereum L2. So that's one thing. But I and many others are expecting that this merger of Urbit and crypto is going to go really deep, and that Urbit is actually a really great sort of platform on which you can build crypto application and decentralized applications. So I do feel this is, there is a connection today. And basically the main Urbit assets are these identities, and those are crypto assets, they're NFTs. But I think this is going to go like much deeper and much greater, this convergence between the two.
Absolutely. Well, real quick to bring it back to Chorus One, tell us about any kind of upcoming milestones or developments people can kind of look forward to from you guys.
Yeah, we focus a lot on just supporting more protocols. We're working a lot on integrations, rewards reporting, research, MEV optimization. So there's a lot of different things. But yeah, I think that's kind of the main thing. Yeah, if you're interested, just go check out course.one, and yeah, we share a lot of our research there. And yeah, and feel free if you're interested in any kind of staking thing, you can just get in touch through our website as well, and we'll love to discuss that with you.
Absolutely. And shout out your X profile so people can connect with you personally.
Yeah. So my X profile is Crain BF, so CRAIN BF, and yeah, you can also message me there.
Amazing, Brian. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. Everyone that's listening, please go get involved with Chorus.one and with Brian personally. Let's get back to building the future of Web3.